In this video, I will present in more details my proposal about cost-effective steps toward health and longevity, and I believe that it is really affordable, and even in developing countries any farmer can use it, because what I propose, it's really cheap pharmaceutical drugs, and so it's really possible and to do it, and even I don't count on the change of the diet, because that many people rely on vegetarian diet. It is kind of new religion. So okay, I believe that change to ketogenic diet, at least if you change to ketogenic diet, it will help, but the best is to use animal fats as a source of energy. So let's go into details. As always, I propose to you to download the presentation as PDF file from the link in the description. You can go to the sources of information, and if you not understand some words, you can click on the links or check Google about the meaning of these terms and about these special words, and then you can go and you can make your own research, decide for yourself, is it worthwhile to invest very little money. It's actually very affordable, what I try to propose. First, as I said, my opinion is very different from opinion of very many other researchers in this area of longevity. So first I present my vision of aging. So regular visitors to my YouTube channel know that I consider our bodies to be a colony of cells that need a proper supply of nutrients, electrolytes and oxygen to function properly. The extracellular matrix, made mostly from collagen and elastin fibers, is a supporting frame that shapes our organs and tissues. Collagen shapes tissues and organs and accounts for about 90% of the extracellular matrix content, at least from the fibers, and elastin provides the stretchability and elastic recoil of tissues. The immune system and stem cells are responsible for the maintenance of our body. While immune cells kill and digest pathogens, dysfunctional cells and virus-infected cells, stem cells replace dead cells in tissues. In theory, we may live forever if maintenance is done properly. However, it is not so, as our bodies are aging. So here's the schematic presentation of the extracellular matrix. It consists of fibers of elastin and collagen fibers and some microfibrils, and cells are not always in contact with each other, so that there are gaps in this extracellular matrix, and immune cells can migrate through these gaps, and some other cells also migrate. So we are not much different from just a colony of cells. So I explain aging as a consequence of stiffening of the extracellular matrix. The elastin fibers are not produced in adulthood, and over time they are replaced by 1,000 times stiffer collagen fibers. Moreover, collagen reacts with sugars and oxidized lipids, forming cross-links or so-called advanced glycation end products and advanced lipoxidation end products. Cross-linking of collagen fibers makes extracellular matrix stiffer, as I said, and compromises the migration of the immune and stem cells. Also, stiffening of the blood vessels reduces the blood flow and leads to chronic hypoxia. This is a shortage of oxygen in tissues. And in conditions of hypoxia, mitochondria, that are power plants of cells, produce more reactive chemical radicals, which are called in science reactive oxygen species, and also reactive nitrogen species. A high concentration of these reactive radicals in cells is called in science oxidative stress. So this is schematically we see this is a mitochondrion. One, it is mitochondrion, many mitochondria. In cells, many mitochondria, hundreds and sometimes thousands of mitochondria are working together to produce ATP molecules of energy. So as we see, this schematically presented some tissue or some living cells, and they are supported by these collagen fibers. But what is happening, cross-linking of collagen happens, and then matrix getting stiffer. Also, when collagen getting stiffer, fibroblasts produce more collagen, more than excessive deposition of collagen plus cross-linking of collagen makes extracellular matrix stiff. Okay, so what is happening, and then it is again the matrix is getting stiff, and we have immune cells and stem cells are coming, and they are working to sustain our body. But again, in time, stiffness of the extracellular matrix is increasing, and also it is increase or in the stiffness of extracellular matrix happens in tumor tissue progression. So okay, this is also, I mean, aging and the development of cancer has many common things, common details. To reduce oxidative stress, cell might shift from production of energy by oxidative phosphorylation in mitochondria to glycolysis in the cell cytoplasm without the use of oxygen. This is a very common mechanism, and it is used by cancer cells and many other hyperactive cells. So during glycolysis, a glucose molecule is converted first to two pyruvate molecules, and then pyruvates are fermented to lactates. Also, some cells become dysfunctional, senescent, and start to produce pro-inflammatory signal molecules that are called in science the senescent associated secretory phenotype. This is many molecules, and they are do not start produce them. The content of these molecules it is changing. So when cells are getting senescent or dysfunctional, they produce these pro-inflammatory molecules, and but content is changing. In the beginning they are not very active, but in time as increasing activity in production of these pro-inflammatory signal molecules. So under the influence of this senescent associated secretory phenotype, fibroblasts are prone to undergo senescence and increase the production of this SISP. So you see it is like explosion. That's number of senescent cells increasing, and then more signal of concentration of pro-inflammatory molecules increase, and it is furthermore molecules converted to be senescent, etc., etc. So also blood capillaries dilate to increase oxygen and glucose supply to the inflamed tissue. Over time, inflammation leads to the growth of new blood capillaries, so it is so-called angiogenesis process, and they grow capillaries from pre-existing vessels. Okay, this oxidative phosphorylation process is happening in mitochondria. Mitochondria have two membranes, and the inner membrane, the so-called electron transfer chain, producing these molecules, and then it is producing also these reactive chemical radicals, in particular hydrogen peroxide. Local hypoxia can also be a result of the hyperactivity of some cells, such as cancer cells, cells infected by viruses, and senescent cells. The shift from production of energy in mitochondria to glycolysis helps cancer cells and other hyperactive cells to proliferate, and some infected cells to produce more viruses. And also senescent cells, they produce more of these pro-inflammatory molecules. SASP activates fibroblasts that produce collagen in the inflamed tissue. In principle, these fibroblasts produce collagen around the hyperactive cells and cancer cells, and they kind of protect these hyperactive cells from our immune system. Fibroblasts use lactate, which is leaking from hyperactive cells, as a source of energy, so it is possible. So instead of glucose, they use lactate. Excessive deposition of collagen fibers protects, as I said, the hyperactive cells from attacks by immune cells. Also, leakage of lactate from hyperactive cells creates an acidic environment and compromises the metabolism of the immune cells. So you see it's kind of protection of the hyperactive cells from immune system. So the number of hyperactive cells is growing along with the level of inflammation in tissues. Okay, so it is how hypoxia develops in cancer. So when cells which are close to the blood vessels, they are not in hypoxia, but the more distant they are, and because they are also hyperactive, they need a lot of energy. They produce energy by glycolysis, and then they are in the state of hypoxia. Okay, so and hypoxia is again it is growing collagen fibers around the hyperactive cells, and it is and eventually it leads to excessive deposition of collagen and fibrosis. Fibrosis is and when our organs are getting very stiff, they get all dysfunctional. For example, the kidneys are getting dysfunctional in like this. So most of all the individuals develop inflamed aging. It is a condition characterized by elevated levels of chronic hypoxia, inflammation, morbidity, disability, frailty, and premature death. The elimination of hyperactive cells or suppression of their metabolism may slow down the development of this vicious cycle of accelerated aging. High level of glucose in the blood, so-called hyperglycemia, can damage the endothelium, which is the layer of cells that lines the interior of blood vessels. The endothelium plays an important role in regulating blood flow, blood pressure, and formation of blood clots, and also angiogenesis, is growing new capillaries. While a reduction in glucose levels in the blood and regular aerobic exercise may decelerate aging, we may also consider the intake of some drugs and supplements for this purpose. Okay, so it is how hyperglycemia creates oxidative stress and inflammation inside the blood vessels, and this it leads to dysfunction of endothelium layer, and then it's all the consequences. So if this damage of the endothelium cell and glycocalyx layer. Glycocalyx is the thin, very thin layer of molecules that protect a layer of endothelium. And then what is happening when endothelium layer is damaged? You see, this is some gaps. The blood cells are sticking to the walls of blood vessels, and they create blood clots. So this is very dangerous. So dysfunctional endothelium leads to blood clots, and also it's increase the risk of death. Chronic hypoglycemia, which is a hallmark of type 2 diabetes, can lead to a variety of vascular complications, including atherosclerosis, this is hardening and narrowing of the arteries, hypertension, so high blood pressure, and an increased risk of heart attacks and stroke. Hyperglycemia increases the production of reactive oxygen species by mitochondria and oxidative stress in the endothelium cells. So you can read, and so it is really not nice, not good to have high level of glucose in the blood. High oxidative stress is associated with apoptosis, so it is cellular death of endothelium cells that activate the production pro-inflammatory cytokines, including histamine and heparin by mast cells. So, and you can read what are the mast cells. These cells react on to damage of cells and react to some cytokines, and so they also they ignite recruitment of immune cells to the inflamed tissue. The resulting inflammation increases stiffening of the blood vessels and contributes to the development of atherosclerosis. Okay. So this is a schematic of blood cells. They have this histamine inside the cells, and if they react, if there are some pro-inflammatory signal or damage of the some cells, they expel this histamine molecules, and histamine molecules produce this reaction of immune cells, so and inflammation, local inflammation. So this some high dose. Type 2 diabetes, it is not healthy, so it is in particular it leads to atherosclerosis and hypertension. So nitric oxide is a molecule that is produced by the endothelium and plays an important role in regulating blood flow and blood pressure. Hyperglycemia can impair the production of nitric oxide, which leads to vasoconstriction, so it is narrowing of the blood vessels, and increased blood pressure. In summary, chronic hyperglycemia can damage the endothelium and layer and contribute to the development of vascular complications. Some supplements are often marketed as nitric oxide boosters or nitric oxide precursors. It is L-arginine, for example, which is amino acids that is involved in production of nitric oxide. So you can buy it as supplement, but you need actually a lot of this L-arginine, and it is not very cheap. It's up to 10 grams a day L-arginine need. So, but you can get L-arginine also from meat and fish. And L-citrulline may be more effective as L-arginine, but again, there are some opinions, but maybe it is even better. So, and then you need antioxidants. Antioxidants such as vitamin C, vitamin E can help protect endothelium cells from oxidative damage and may improve their function. So this is how L-arginine is getting converted to L-citrulline, and with production of nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is the signal molecules which producing the dilation of blood vessels. So the dilation of blood capillaries and increased blood flow can facilitate the migration of immune cells such as neutrophils, monocytes, and lymphocytes from the bloodstream through the endothelium layer to the site of migration. It is like blood capillaries are dilating, and then there are the gaps between the cells of the endothelium layer, and then these immune cells are migrate through the gaps to the inside of our body, to the site of inflammation. So this process is called extravasation, and it is important part of the immune response to inflammation, tissue damage, and viral infection. Then immune cells can exert phagocytosis of pathogens and dysfunctional cells, so they just eat them. Then taken in high doses, nicotinic acid, also known as niacin, can act as a vasodilator, which means it can cause blood vessels to widen and increase blood flow. The cause is blood vessel dilation. The cause is blood vessel dilation due to elevated secretion of prostaglandin molecules from mast cells, and also serotonin from platelets, blood cells. More than 30 milligrams of niacin, a dose of 30 milligrams of niacin can cause a temporary flushing or reddening of the skin, but again, in time you're getting accustomed to the high doses, and so it's some people get up to 20 grams of niacin a day. So, but it is extreme cases to cure schizophrenia, for example. So this is how the immune cells work. So they consume pathogens, and the pathogen go to this phagosome, and phagosome gets together with lysosome, and then it is digested, and soluble debris can be used by stem cells to replace dead cells and to replace damaged cells. Hyperactive cells have high level of oxidative stress, as I said, which means higher concentration of reacting oxygen species or reacting nitrogen species. These radicals may react with lipids, especially polyunsaturated fatty acids, in cell membranes. Lysosomes, which contain digestive enzymes, are responsible for cleaning cells from misfolded proteins, nucleic acid, carbohydrates, lipids, and dysfunctional organelles. The digestive enzymes in lysosomes are active in slightly acidic environment. So damage to membranes in lysosomes is especially dangerous. Cells that use glycolysis for energy production have more acidic cytoplasm than cells that rely on oxidative phosphorylation in mitochondria. Therefore, leakage of enzymes from damaged lysosomes may destroy the nucleus membrane and DNA in hyperactive cells. Such damage may lead to the transformation of healthy cells into cancer cells. Again, in the situation of hypoxia, you see cells use glycolysis, but then their membranes can be damaged, and eventually they get converted to cancer cells and senescent cells. So this is how this reactive oxygen species they react with membranes, and they are produced in mitochondria, but again they can damage membranes in the cells, and if reactive oxygen species damage lysosome membrane, then enzymes are leaking out, and then they damage membranes in the cells. Even they can damage nuclear membrane and then damage DNA. Minocycline and doxycycline are both tetracycline antibiotics commonly used to treat various conditions, including acne, rosacea, respiratory tract infection, and certain sexually transmitted infections. In addition to their antibacterial properties, these drugs in low doses have been shown to have other biological effects such as anti-inflammatory, antioxidant, and neuroprotective properties. So some studies have suggested that low doses of doxycycline and minocycline may be able to extend the lifespan of animals by targeting various aging-related mechanisms such as inflammation, oxidative stress, and mitochondrial dysfunction. For example, a study published in 2015 found that low doses of doxycycline extended the lifespan of these worms, of some worms, nematodes, a type of roundworm, by reducing inflammation and oxidative stress. So you see, we can see this how these nematodes can live longer in relatively low doses of doxycycline, and you see that it is a relatively wide range of the concentration of doxycycline works. So you see it is quite remarkable increase of the longevity of these nematodes, of these worms, roundworms. Okay, you see that, and then, but what is interesting, azithromycin, I was talking about azithromycin in my other videos. It is this antibiotic is used as a part of this senolytics to kill senescent cells, but as for extension of lifespan, it is not working so well. You see, it's a concentration even higher than doxycycline, but we see not so high extension of the lifespan, and also it depends on concentration. At high concentration, almost nothing. There is some improvement, but not so much. Not not better than doxycycline. Doxycycline is a relatively cheap antibiotic. It was developed a long time ago, and I think 1960s it was already very common. Azithromycin is more special. It is stronger actually antibiotic, but again it is not working very well for lifespan extension in these roundworms. And what is again interesting, while doxycycline and minocycline, they are not much different from tetracycline antibiotic. The doxycycline, they are different in efficiency. The doxycycline probably is the best, and tetracycline doesn't work at all. Another study published in 2019 found that low doses of minocycline extended the lifespan of Drosophila, so it is fruit fly, by improving mitochondrial function and reducing oxidative stress. So the drug-induced lifespan extension was not associated with the reduced dietary intake, so it is not because the fly was in calorie deficit, but rather with increased resistance to oxidative stress. It's exactly to hydrogen peroxide produced by mitochondria. Notably, that minocycline effects on lifespan and resistance to, so certainly minocycline worked as increased resistance to oxidative stress. Treatment with either minocycline or doxycycline increased the median lifespan of some mice from approximately 32 days to approximately 70 days. These mice are special mutants which are short-living, so it is not working probably for wild mice, but again it is interesting example that such mice they suffer from very high very high oxidative stress, and then minocycline and doxycycline increased very considerably lifespan of these mutants. In pilot clinical trial, subtherapeutic doses, it's only 20 milligrams twice a day of doxycycline, benefited patients with coronary artery disease by reducing inflammation. Okay, it is not about longevity, but health certainly improved, and there is some explanation that how the doxycycline works. Doxycycline in reducing inflammation, it is reducing excessive deposition of the collagen, it is reducing the growth of this smooth muscle cells and thickness of the aorta in mice. So arteries become stiffer with age due to alterations in their morphology and composition. Impaired endothelium function leads to increased resting vascular smooth muscle tone and further increases in vascular stiffness and mean pulse pressure. The effect of increased stiffness, whatever its underlying causes, it is to reduce the buffering function of the conduit arteries near the heart, and they increase pulse wave velocity. So the pulse wave velocity, it is a measure of elasticity of the aorta. So it is stiffness of the aorta increases systolic and pulse pressure. So, and pulse pressure is a measure of health of the aorta. Reversing or stabilizing the increased arterial stiffness associated with age, and reversing of the stiffness associated with age in disease by targeting any of these causes provides a number of promising new approaches to the treatment of systolic hypertension and its consequences. The main causes, this hypertension, it is actually the main cause of mortality and morbidity in the developed world. So it is again cardiovascular diseases and heart disease, heart strokes, they are the main cause of death in developed world. Recent observations have shown that abnormal hyperactivity of the matrix metalloproteinases, this is the enzyme which destroys the elastin fibers, for example, especially MMP2 plays a role in vascular alterations induced by hypertension and increased oxidative stress. So inhibition of this enzyme may prevent an increase in arterial stiffness. There is strong evidence that doxycycline may attenuate the functional and structural alteration associated with hypertension, including increases in arterial stiffness. Again, you can go to the publication, you can read that it is amazing that doxycycline, that normal, very common antibiotic, can do such good things like reduce this arterial stiffness. Interestingly, it is interesting that treatment with doxycycline prevented thickening of the aortic wall, reduced the number of vascular smooth muscle cells, and reduced collagen deposition in the vascular wall compared to the untreated group of hypertension rats. Again, so you see it's quite interesting that mechanism how doxycycline work to make the wall thinner and to reduce hypertension. Okay, so again, you see hypertension is caused actually with this activity of this enzymes, and it leads to vascular remodeling because elastin fibers are destroyed, and it leads to arterial stiffness, and doxycycline can help. So again, doxycycline or inhibition of these enzymes, and it then which are related to to oxidative stress, leads to this activation of this enzyme and then remodeling of the aorta. So it is again, the doxycycline can help, can prevent the arterial stiffness. Improving the function of endothelium layer in the blood vessels is an important goal in the prevention and treatment of cardiovascular disease, including hypertension. Several classes of drugs have been shown to improve endothelium function, including one what again. So there are drugs which work to reduce hypertension, and there are quite many. There are classes of these drugs, and it is angiotensin converting enzyme. It is, again, you can click on it, read in Wikipedia how it works. It is not very easy, but again, these inhibitors, they work by blocking conversion of angiotensin 1 to angiotensin 2, which is a patent vasoconstrictor. So it is again, our blood vessels are getting dilated or constricted in reaction to some substances like angiotensin, and if it is blocked, again, one class is this. And then next is angiotensin receptor block, which blocks action of angiotensin 2 at the receptor sites and in the smooth muscle cells, and which also can improve endothelium function and reduce blood pressure. And also what is used, calcium channel blockers. They work by blocking entry of calcium ions in the smooth muscle cells of the blood vessels, and also it is causing muscles to relax and blood vessels to dilate. And the last one, potassium channel openers. These are drugs that promote potassium efflux to inside this cells, smooth muscle cells, and preventing the penetration of calcium through the calcium channels. Okay, so you see quite many classes of these antihypertensive drugs, and it is surprising that some of these hypertensive drugs, which are relatively cheap and available without prescription, can help to extend your lifespan. Antihypertensives are drugs that are used to treat hypertension, as I said. Evidence suggests that reduction in systolic blood pressure can decrease cardiovascular mortality. And when compared to other classes of antihypertensives, altogether, diuretics are superior in the preventing heart failure. Beta blockers are less effective in preventing stroke. Calcium channel blockers are superior in preventing stroke and all-cause death. And then angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors, they are more effective in preventing coronary heart disease, and this angiotensin receptor blockers, they are more effective. They inferior to preventing coronary heart disease and then others. Okay, so you can compare, but also what is interesting, this potassium channel opening, this class of this potassium channel openers, these are very interesting drugs. They probably have very good potential, but not so much information available about these drugs. So, So let's go. Clinical evidence shows that the calcium channel blockers and thiazidine types diuretics are preferred first-line treatments for most people. And so again, this is just considering what is used. and there are some blood-lowering drugs, and it's quite common to use calcium channel blockers. And again, they not only block calcium, but they also block this activity of these enzymes which destroy elastin fibers. Okay, then what was recorded, nematode, these worms, treated with this antihypertensives, which is real meneudine. They demonstrated 33% extension compared to controls. But treatment in animals, what is in animals, it is losartan was used, and which is angiotensin receptor blocker, and some nicardipine, so you can read, nicardipine, calcium channel blocker. But what again, that's losartan work, but this calcium channel blocker didn't work. So again, they are all reduce blood pressure, but losartan somehow they can change. Oh, pardon. I did the writing, but I just mixed myself. So interesting that potassium channel openers, they are the best, actually, the best, because they ignite the growth of elastin fibers. But what is interesting that some of these angiotensin receptor blockers, yeah, and calcium channel blockers, they also work to reduce blood pressure, but they didn't modify elastin content in arteries. So they are just make the dilation of the blood vessels, but not change elastin content in the arteries. But dilation works. Okay, so again, some reference that losartan, which is angiotensin receptor blocker, which is very common, relatively cheap. I mean, maybe the cheapest. No, calcium channel blockers may be cheaper, but losartan is very, very common angiotensin and angiotensin receptor blocker. And then what is interesting, so while doxycycline delayed rupture of aorta in mice with special mutants with deficiency of elastin, they helped a lot. Only doxycycline, but also if we combine doxycycline and losartan, both losartan and doxycycline improved in extended lifespan of the mice of these mutants. But when it is combined, was much better. It inhibits elastic aorta elastin degradation and radically extend the lifespan of these mutants compared to untreated mice. You see how this slide. So this is survival percent of mice of these mutants, not so long, you see. But if they are treated with doxycycline, blue line, or if they are treated with this losartan, okay, this is losartan, it is this violet curve. It extended quite, no, not radical, but quite essentially, substantially increased lifespan of mice. But combination of doxycycline and losartan gave amazing results. It is quite, I mean, maybe order of magnitude. It is actually made mice very long living. These are mutants which don't live long enough, but then if they get together doxycycline and losartan, it worked very well. Okay. As I said, again, hypertension is often associated with endothelium dysfunction, which I already talking about, and this can contribute to the development of and progression of the disease. And potassium channel openers, have been shown to improve endothelium function, which can help to prevent or slow down progression of hypertension and atherosclerosis. Again, you can read. This is very interesting findings. Mitochondria may contain potassium channels similar to those present in plasma of the cell plasma membrane. Oxidative stress, which is caused by imbalance between the production of the reactive oxygen species by mitochondria in conditions of hypoxia and the body's ability to neutralize them, can contribute to the development of hypertension. And these potassium channel openers have been shown to markedly reduce mitochondrial production of this reactive oxygen species. So it is maybe most efficient. And there are many examples, there are some examples of this potassium channel openers. They are not cheap, unfortunately. And they may induce elastin production, what is important. They improve arterial structure and function and organ perfusion. And again, oral treatment with minoxidil in mice, it also resulted in synthesis of elastic fibers and protection of pre-existing elastin fibers. So interesting. Again, doxycycline is reducing breaking of the elastin fibers, but minoxidil, in some experiments, it was also resulted in synthesis of elastin fibers and protection of the pre-existing elastic fibers. So 2 months low dose of the nicoraldil, which is also antihypertensive drug, increased elastin production, elastin content in aorta of rats, similar to that induced by minoxidil. Okay, so you see minoxidil and doxycycline, they work similar. It is a good question what will work better, but again, in subtherapeutic doses and low doses, people use it, and also quite much research was done that shows that elastin content can be preserved or even improved with consumption of this antibiotics. Stiff blood vessels may lead to a condition called arterial calcification, which negatively affects nutrient and oxygen delivery to skeletal muscle, ultimately accelerating muscular loss or sarcopenia and functional decline of frailty. The inner lining of blood vessels, called the endothelium, again I repeat it a little bit, is sensitive to the stiffening of arteries. When arteries are stiff, the endothelium becomes less responsive to blood flow, affecting the production of nitric oxide, which regulates vascular dilation and blood flow, helps maintain blood vessel flexibility, and regulates blood flow. Impaired nitric oxide availability can negatively affect blood flow and muscle perfusion. Endothelium dysfunction can lead to increased vascular resistance, losing hypertension, and contribute to other issues like inflammation and atherosclerosis. Okay, so the higher the oxidative stress, actually, the higher the inflammation, the more the atherosclerosis develops. You see, so it is very, very important. And then, again, so cheap, you can take minoxidil or doxycycline in very small doses every day, and it would be very helpful to avoid such development of atherosclerosis and hypertension. Insulin, a hormone which can lipid production in the adipose tissue, protein synthesis, and glycogen storage in muscles, can also be affected by arterial stiffness. Insulin usually promotes blood vessel dilation and increased blood flow, but in cardiovascular diseases and type 2 diabetes, this process can be disrupted. So too much glucose leads to insulin resistance. Again, it is also then all this functioning of endothelium cells is disrupted. Insulin resistance, a condition where the body doesn't respond well to insulin, is associated with endothelium dysfunction. Problems like high blood sugar, excessive insulin, and insulin resistance can harm the function of endothelium, leading to issues like oxidative stress, inflammation, and problems with heart function. Again, this I would say people don't want to change from to ketogenic diet and to use fat as a source of energy, but I think it is not big deal. I follow the ketogenic diet for years, and there are many variations of ketogenic diet, and carnivore diet also can be with some variations. I think it is the best choice. The ketogenic diet is a low carbohydrate, high fat diet which aims to induce ketosis, a metabolic state in which the body uses fat as its main source of energy, while the liver produces ketone bodies from fat. In conventional medicine, it was developed for the treatment of epilepsy in the 20s in children. An elevated level of ketone bodies in the blood known as state of ketosis. Again, I repeat this. Ketosis, you can go check what is ketosis. Ketosis is production of ketone bodies. That's all. It's healthy. The brain loves ketone bodies to use as energy. The state of ketosis can be achieved by excluding high carbohydrate foods such as starchy fruits and vegetables, also bread and pasta and grains and sugar, while consuming foods high in fat. Some studies have suggested that ketogenic diet may have anti-aging effects, such as improving cognitive function and reducing inflammation and extending lifespan. Again, it is not a miracle, but if you follow this ketogenic diet, yeah, it is certainly works as anti-inflammation. It has anti-inflammation effect. And extending lifespan, certainly. Okay, so you can rely on glucose. This is a source of energy for most of people, and they get mostly this energy from carbohydrates. And this is